Welcome back to this week's coffee break, and welcome back to having it in my house rather than in a hotel room. You know, one of the things that I had envisioned for this video every week was that people would watch it. Most people are not watching it, and that's okay. I'm going to encourage you in this week's email, if you're a teacher in the FulCom SLC, I'm going to encourage you to watch it. I don't usually do that. So if you're here and you're not usually here, you will now see what a great event this is. In discussing teacher needs, and let me just say, you know, parents and students by and large are not watching this, although I do send it out to them every week, to all of our students and all of our parents. So I'm sending this video out to roughly 350 people. On a good week, it gets 8 to 12 views. I just throw that out there. So back to the reason we're here. Brandon O'Neill and I were talking today. We try to have a dean meeting on Thursdays before collab, and in the course of that conversation, one of the things that he brought up to me was that there are two things that teachers would like to see handled differently or better, or they're concerned about, or however you want to put it. It's not aggravation, it's not being upset, it's just concern. One of those is tardies. Now, if you are using the Google form that we sent out, then just sit back and let that do its thing, because right now, there are no students that have been brought to me that have more than 5 tardies. I'm sure we're close, and I'll have to deal with that. But we are watching that. Nick Lethko, our restorative interventionist, is watching that. He's doing a great job being proactive with kids. And so when we get to the point where it needs to come to me, it will come to me, and we will try to do our best to do that. Having said that, from some teachers at school, I still see referrals for tardies where they list 5 or 6 dates kids have been tardy, and they're finally putting something in Aspen, which I'm assuming is not going in the Google form, and as a result, it's not being tracked by Nick or by myself. Whether that's our student or somebody else's student is irrelevant, but I'm just saying I haven't seen that from our teachers, so I'm very happy about that. But until we get everybody doing the same thing, it's going to be difficult to deal with. Now, let me just say, the administrative team is well aware of the tardy problem. We are well aware. The bell schedule seems to be a nice suggestion right now. And we are open to ideas about how to get those kids in your classroom before the bell rings. We have floated some ideas among ourselves, but we are hesitant to do some things. For instance, we could tell you to close all your doors and lock them, and any students left in the hallway will just be gathered up and taken to ATS for at least that period. I know some high schools that have done that, but then that kid is not in your class at all. They're not getting instruction. They're not learning, and there's no guarantee they're not going to just be late because that's what they want, is to be sent somewhere. So I'm open to ideas. The other is, and again, something that the admin team is frustrated with right along with you, is dress code. We are having massive dress code issues, from hats and toboggans and balaclava masks to wearing heavy winter coats to class, which, whether you realize that or not, is not allowed in the dress code policy, to wearing the wrong color on the outside. And here's where we have a disconnect. I'm just being honest. We have a disconnect. So when I was in Florida, I understand they did some dress code checks. They rounded up some kids who were out of dress code. They sent them to ATS, which is what we have said in the handbook that we will do. And I think there was a total of 7 kids. 7 kids out of almost 1,000. That does not make a dress code pandemic. It just doesn't. But here's where I think we're falling down. I think, number one, I think we have some teachers who are not paying attention when kids are sitting in their classrooms with hoods on their head or some other kind of head covering on their head, which is specifically not allowed by Knox County Schools Dress Code Policy J260. Go read it for yourself. Because we're more interested in teaching. We want to get the instruction done. I get it. And worrying about dress code is not uppermost on your agenda. And when I say you, I'm not talking about you in particular or even FulCom teachers, but teachers in general. Dress code was never a big thing for me in my classroom, and that was back when kids had to tuck their shirts in, and I had to have kids stand up at the beginning of class and do a shirt tuck check. Some of the most ridiculous things I've ever had to do as a teacher. But where I think part of our issue is that because we no longer have this SLC purity that everybody wants, our English teachers are not teaching very many FulCom English students. Our math teachers are not teaching very many FulCom math students. They're mixed in from all over. We've got 10th graders with 11th graders, and so if a health science student comes into your classroom and they have on a black shirt, you are probably not aware what SLC they belong to. And you see a black shirt is dress code, kid's okay. We see them in the hallway and as administrators, and we are like, there is something majorly wrong here. And some of that goes by me. I'm just as guilty. Some of it goes by me because I've got 11th graders that I've never met, and I wouldn't recognize their face from Aspen because it's covered up with some cloth mask. I don't know who they are. I don't know if they're mine or not. When I get referrals put into Aspen, I've got to go look up most of the kids. Is this one mine? Is that one mine? Is this one mine? So there is one thing I can recommend for this, and that is, and some of you may have done this already, but you have to have a seating chart for your room. And that seating chart needs to come to me. So if you haven't done that already, you're way behind the 8 ball. But most of you have. But if you were to go through your class roster, pull those kids up, and look and see who their counselor is, you will know what SLC they're in. And then on your seating chart, you can just make little notes. HS, FC, SP, P, M. Now you know when you look at that kid, they're a FulCom kid. Are they wearing black? And we can deal with that. We can start to work on it. That's just one idea. If you've got more, I want to hear them. Send me an email. Come by my office and talk to me. We are looking for solutions. No question. And that's it. Those two things. Tardies and dress code. If you've got ideas about how to fix them, come let me know what they are. I will run them up the flagpole with the rest of the administrators and we'll see where we go with it. I promise you, every idea will get presented. Other than that, I'm at a loss. I've not often been at a loss in education, but on these two issues right now, in this moment, in the middle of this pandemic, I'm at a loss. We'll see you next Friday.